Hey everyone, welcome to the Get the Lead podcast series. And today I'm so excited to have Greg Smith here from Send Handwritten. And our topic that we're just going to be discussing today, which is pretty clever, I think, is if you want to get the lead, send handwritten. So Greg is a CEO and founder of Send Handwritten, and he works with savvy business owners and sales teams who really need to cut through the noise out there on the internet to get the attention of those really hard to get leads and clients that you're seeking. And whether it's lead generation or possibly client retention, what Greg does with Send Handwritten is he actually he captures the empathy and the authentic engagement through the notes that he writes in the cards. It's a very clever system that he has for building that authentic trust. Because when we look at business, we are human first. It's how we get out of bed, we put our undies on. We are human first. So creating and delivering messages that are authentically human and authentic is through this type of marketing that Greg delivers, is really playing dividends for those smart entrepreneurs who are sick of lead generation strategies that just don't work. So welcome, Greg.
Thank you, Mark.
So looking at the time that you thought about sending handwritten and all that white noise, because I've had these conversations before about how do you get in front of that hard to capture client or referral partner, and we know that people are switching off online. And when I first met you, it was just like, oh my gosh, I have to get you on here because it's music to my ears. What was it that inspired you to come up with Send Handwritten?
I was cranky, was part of it.
Oh.
The other part of it, I was inspired. So what happened was I sold a business that was my baby. It took me 20 years to build it. I sold it in 2012 and I worked for the organization that purchased my company. Should have been a 2-year contract, ended up a 5-year contract. Left there in 2017. And what I noticed as they allowed that baby to deteriorate and they ended up letting it perish in the gutter in 2020, was that they were brilliant at what they did. Their systems were wonderful, their budgets were pristine, their equipment was state of the art, their training and the human beings that they employed to deliver the educational services that they were delivering would give you goosebumps. Oh. However, what they mucked up was the customer experience piece. So my cheeky phrase or little quip is that customer service is dead.
Mm.
And if it's dead, and that's a bit of a controversial statement, but if it's dead, now what? And the answer to now what is customer experience. Yeah. So customer service is expected, it needs to be in place, and it is not a unique selling proposition anymore. However, exceptional, spine-tingling customer experience is a unique selling proposition. And so Send Handwritten came out of the ashes of watching my baby deteriorate, getting focused on the fact that customer experience was what I was really good at when I built that business. And that it turns out that one of the statistics that is, I think, well known by many of us is that 80% of CEOs and business owners believe that their customer service is brilliant. Trouble is, only 8% of those same clients, when surveyed, agree with that belief. So there's a gap in the market. There's some dissonance. I attempted to jump into that gap and created a consultancy called the Masters of Client Retention to answer one question. How do you Velcro your clients to whatever it is that you do? Because that's the low-hanging fruit. Maximizing customer lifetime value, that's the key. Because it doesn't take any effort. If they know, like, and trust you and love what you deliver, and they have a wonderful experience while that happens, they come back.
Correct. It's not rocket science, is it?
It is not rocket science, but you would think it would be rocket science when you see how people, businesses operate, from tiny mum and dad businesses all the way through to the major league. There's very few companies that actually get it. And so my early clients with the Masters of Client Retention, very soon into that journey, started saying, Greg, we're really good at customer retention. Don't stop rabbiting on. Give us the most cost-effective, easy to understand, simple to implement tool that you've got in your kit bag that will also work for lead generation. And what percolated to the surface over a couple of years was, and it still is at the core of what we do, it's our golden nugget. We don't always do it, but it's at the core of ourselves at Send Handwritten, is bespoke designs branded to you, beautifully handwritten by real human beings, clever scripting and messaging that it goes into quietest channel to market where you can still whisper and be heard. The post box.
Love it. In fact, I was reading somewhere they're saying that it's making a comeback.
Yes, there are a couple. There's one guy in Sydney, and I'm happy to use his name. Malcolm Auld is his name, and I can't quite remember the title of his book. It's not at my fingertips here at the moment. It's on its way. And he has just published a book, and he's really expressing the fact that digital is becoming beige and real, tactile, authentic, in Aussie parlance, fair dinkum connection that you can hold and turn over and feel the weight of. That's where we're ultimately heading in combination with digital.
Yes, I was going to say, Greg, in some respects, this is not a new idea because you and I have known about send out cards. And I have to say that I was like thinking, oh, yes, I'll sign up to this send out cards. And ultimately, they've even got a book about it and how to nurture your clients and send out cards. But there was something about send out cards that just didn't gel with me. How are you different to send out cards? What is it that you do differently?
I'm really happy to answer that question. What was it? And so this is a live conversation. What was it about the send out cards piece that didn't resonate? What was the missing piece, do you think?
I think for me, it was the fact that it was like pick a card. It really didn't have that messaging ability. I had to think of it myself. It was sort of like I felt like I was part of a cult. It was quite weird. Oh no, I shouldn't say this, but it's almost like being Irish, like that feeling of this is the only way. I don't know, it just didn't align. There was something about it that it just didn't feel right for me.
Yeah. So I'm very clear that I'm not down on Send Handwritten. I have met Cody Bateman, the boss of Send Out Cards. I've shaken his hand and I rate what the guy is up to and why he started Send Out Cards. So philosophically, we are aligned. But from the point of view of the resonance between, or the differentiating point between Send Handwritten and Send Out Cards is the level of resonance and the frequency with which we show up. Now, the practicalities of that frequency that we show up with and the resonance that our work has with our clients is then driven by a bunch of cheeky questions that I ask when people say those three words, send out cards. And the questions are, does Send Out Cards allocate to you a marketing strategist, a business building strategist when you engage with Send Out Cards? No. Do Send Out Cards provide for you a creative director to help you get the nuance and the layering of your message, scripting, artistic work, etc.? Do they work with you hand in glove to help you make that happen? No. Do they handwrite anything with real human beings? Do they wax seal? Do they use anything other than plain white envelopes? Is there any Send Out Cards branding on that work? Yes. Our cards don't have any of our branding on our work. It's all branded to our clients. Do Send Out Cards have a data team that back the work and go curating data on behalf of you, their client? No. Do they have a call team, English first language speakers, who get on the phone and verify that that data is correct and build a rapport with gatekeepers? No. Do they allocate a what we call post-call human being after the card lands to nurture that budding relationship? No. Do they then have a digital version of what's gone out in the mail that speaks when it arrives via LinkedIn or text? Or I can go on and on and on. The differentiators are so Marg, what's really clear is that Send Handwritten is not a card company, although we send cards. We are not a marketing company, although we help our clients with their lead generation and their client retention. I was saying for a while that we're an attention-seeking missile on behalf of our clients to interrupt attention. We're much more than that. What I've got really clear now is that what is here, or what is soon to be announced, is that Web 3.0 is the thing. It's the new sheriff in town, and it's the internet of goddamn everything. Automation, AI, digitization, all of that. This team, our core team at Send Handwritten, have already got it, that we need to think 10 years beyond Web 3.0, and that's where we're playing. And cheekily, we can't actually use this language, but cheekily, what we're thinking is Web 3.H, where H is the human component. Because I don't know about you, Marg, but I never want to have a coffee with a bot. I never want to cuddle a robot or a piece of AI. I could get cheeky about this, of course, but I am not an automatable thing. I am a carbon unit with a bunch of flaws from here to Christmas, with a bunch of nuances and prejudices and assumptions and things that are a pain in the neck, but they make me human. So the spirit of things is where Send Handwritten is playing. And the spirit of what triggers the spirit of things is generosity, recognition, remembering, awareness, appreciation, gratitude, all of those human qualities that are both the best of us and worst of us simultaneously. I'm not interested in getting rid of that. That's what makes life interesting.
Yes, yes. I love how you said about the spirit of things, because that is where the core is. It's the core of all of us. And when I'm thinking about Send Out Cards, my own experience, that's what I said. It didn't come with all that support. Yes, there was cards there, and you know, is that the right card for the right purpose? And you've got all these choices, and you're right. I mean, there was the book, which you could call a support, but who's got time to read a book? Let's face it, everyone's really quite busy. And then what I found is that I just sort of abandoned it because it all sort of got too hard. Loved the idea, but I think I may have sent out one card or two cards, whatever, but it didn't really go anywhere. Which brings me into my next question then, that if this is a lead generation strategy, can you explain how does Send Handwritten actually generate leads for business owners and sales teams? And what are the quality of that leads? Because I'm asking this because I'm going to be asking you a question shortly in terms of the cost of leads, because we know that mostly the lead generation costs are very, very high, and you can get a whole myriad of different quality there. So coming back to the question, how does Send Handwritten generate leads, and what is the quality of the lead that you receive?
So I just had an interesting thought, and I haven't had this thought before. As you were asking the question, I'm thinking, gee, Marga, you're asking about the quality of advertising. Are you asking about the number or the quality of leads that are coming in the door? Or are you really asking about the quality of the long-term healthy relationships that you're interested in building? So in that, messiness, the answer to your question, and what I heard was, what are the quality of the leads? How long's a piece of string? is the answer to the question. We don't know that until we begin working with a client. So you've heard me tell the story of the accountant with the yak on the front of the card, and we made him 1.4 million bucks in 2 months out of 200 leads. Pretty high quality leads. For the next 2 months, though, nothing happened.
Yeah.
But then for the 3 months after that, we got him 2 or 3 leads that he converted each month. After that, that was a 12-month campaign. So the quality of the leads depends on so many variables, and the preparedness of our client to lean in and not just advertise. We are all so savvy to the BS of the advertising industry, which does this. They say, you've got a problem. Just so happens we've got a solution. Yeah. And we're all used to filtering that and going, leave me alone. I don't actually have that problem. The way that we generate leads, we've picked up that piece from the advertising industry, but we've taken it to the next step. And we've said, we suspect that you've got this problem, and we're going to twist a knife into your heart and mind to really see if it's a problem. But then what we really want to do is we want to collaborate with you and build a relationship so that we can help you build your accounting practice, which was the example I'm thinking of, while you go off and be a great accountant. Your job is to build
that, because I was actually putting out an email today to accountants on behalf of a client that is running a webinar, and I've been looking at the opens, and I'm sitting there thinking to myself, I'm not really sort of feeling that confident on the strategy of of just doing it as an email. And it's funny when we look back at the numbers, like people get too hung up on numbers. And my question was all about quality, because my point is, we're in getting the lead, it's about getting the right lead. It's about getting the right client, the right next customer. You don't know for the lifetime of that customer, you might only need 5. So I don't get really hung up on the numbers. And so looking at this this accountant, which I thought that is a really good strategy, because we know that accountants are transactional type, well, they mostly are transactional type of personality types. And this is a relational strategy, which I love. So apart from the client of the accountant, have you got another case study that you can share in relation to converting the leads? Like, once you've done the card, what comes next? Is it, see you later, accountant, we sent the card, we've done the phone call? Is it then, do you stay with the accountant, or do you say, right, we've done our job, now you go convert? How does that work?
Our preference is to stay with the accountant, have a pit stop every couple of months, and dig into the granular details of what's working in that campaign and not working in that campaign. We do call them pit stops every 2 months. Yeah. If the cadence is 200 cards a month for 12 months, data, so we curate the data, we make pre-calls, we make post-calls, we send the cards, we do all that production work. Then we stop. Every couple of months, we go, right, what are the results? What worked? What didn't work? What do we suspect? What's the feedback that we're getting from the marketplace and from the universe? And now let's iterate to whatever it needs to be. So your question is, is there another example apart from that one? Yeah, a little while ago, we ran we had a client approach us. It was the YMCA in New South Wales. And the YMCA run a school camp at Richmond in Sydney. And I think it's recent, it's up on a hill, but the surrounding area, of course, has recently been hit by the floods. So the question to us was, Greg, how do we get back the $500,000 worth of work that we've lost out of this business in the last 2 years? Why did we lose the business? Because we took our eye off the customer experience ball. That ended up being the summary of what was going on. So YMCA, what have you done to get those clients back and to continue to build the business? Well, you know what we did? We ran an email campaign. Great. What was your return on investment? Not $1. Okay, that's fair enough and not unexpected, because they wanted the attention of deputies and school principals and year level coordinators and busy, distracted human beings. And I said, what else did you do? Oh, we ran we engaged a telemarketing company and we got them on the phone. Return on investment, $0. I said, great, leave it with me. Here's what we designed for anybody that's watching this rather than just listening. CD-shaped sized envelope, wax sealed with the Wise logo, a round card, handwritten, all branded to the YMCA. They invested about $4,000 with Send Handwritten. We turned that into $700,000 in 3 or 4 months.
Wow.
And so the process was get clear on the problem, do some clever creative, because the opening line in that card is, hi, Marg, I've sent you a map and compass to find your way back to the YMCA. Where the bloody hell are you?
Oh, I love it.
So we came up with the clever creative. We made sure that all of the data was up to date. So the human beings were personally approached. And when that envelope landed on gatekeepers' desks at reception desks in schools, they didn't know what to do with it. They sure as heck weren't ready to throw it in the bin. So they handed it to they handed it to the decision makers, and then we got on the phone and said, hi, gatekeeper, wondering if you could help me, please. Can I talk to the boss? Because I'm from the YMCA and I've got a deal for you.
Right, got it. So your part in the processing, it sounds like, is to get the interest, to get the attention,
Yes.
to disrupt, to get through the gatekeeper,
Yes.
to make sure it arrives, and
Yes.
then so is it you who then makes the call, or is it the owner, business owner, or the salesperson who gets on the phone to convert the lead? Which one?
Our team will line up with the 2 calendars, the calendar of my client and maybe the gatekeeper with the calendar of the prospect, and create a 15-minute meeting opportunity for 2 geniuses to get their heads together and create synergy.
Boom, love it. Love it.
Yeah. So our job, we cheekily say, our job is not to sell your TV. Our job is to get attention to your TV. You have to sell it, because we work from high-end high-end digital marketers one day to accountants the next day to spiritual advisors the next. Like, we can't sell all of those products across that spectrum. Those human beings that are driving those businesses, they know their stuff way better than what we ever will, because they're deep in the trees. Correct.
And I was doing some research on lead generation costs, okay, and I found this one. This is from Circle Source, and this is 2021. And I was actually, you don't often think about your lead generation costs, and you should, because ultimately people are just spending so much money on marketing. And here are some interesting statistics or costs that I found. They're saying that obviously your website is your first thing that you get up and running. You pay probably about $3,000. Rarely do you sell anything from it, but we have to keep that in mind with hosting and then whatever we do next. So let's just add all this up. So imagine if you're so you had your website, $3,000 plus your hosting. Then let's say you want to go and do some SEO. Well, they're saying that at the moment, SEO can be anywhere between $500 a month to $2,000. And then there is some that then some owners go, oh, you know what? To hell with that. I'm going to buy myself a contact list. Right? So they might go, I need more than one strategy. So let's add now another $100 to $100 or $1,000 per month, or $5 per lead for any lists. And we know that when you buy a list, it's usually out of date. So good luck with that.
Yep.
You could get yourself an appointment center. I used to be an appointment center for a real estate company.
Yes.
And they paid me $25 an hour, 4 days a week. So
Yes.
that was, and I was working 5 days a week. So that's $100 a day. So that's $500 just for appointment center. They're saying that here, they're saying appointment centers will spend $50. It'll be a $50 payment to them, to $400 per appointment, which is a qualified lead. Well, I should ring them up and say, hey, I've got you heaps of appointments. You should have paid me more. Social media marketing. Here we go. Now there is a combination when we talk about social media marketing, it says nearly $5,000 per month, which is made up of Facebook marketing, which, when you think about it, if you're going to get a digital branding agency, by the time that they set it all up for you, it could be anywhere between $4,000 to $20,000. I remember I had one in Brighton, and they wanted a couple of grand just to set it up, and then it was just this regular $500 a month. But they're saying here that Facebook marketing could be anywhere between $4,000 to $20,000 in the setup, and then $800 to $4,000 per month. Now, these are big numbers, Greg. But but the truth is, you need a lot of money to get noticed on social media. Instagram, $1,000 to $7,000 setup, plus $1,500 to $8,000 per month. Then there's LinkedIn. I know you do LinkedIn marketing. $4,000 to $25,000 setup, and then $2,000 to $15,000 per month. Now, I know I did a LinkedIn coaching thing for my marketing. That cost me 10 grand. That's $3,000 a month. Twitter marketing, anywhere between $3,000 to $11,000 setup, plus $2,000 to $15,000 per month. Then we get onto Google AdWords. They're saying here that could be anywhere between $5,000 to $15,000 per month. It goes on and on. Email marketing, $380 to $1,300 per month. And then there's webinars, which is another thing that you do. And then by the time you've all paid someone to set that up, then you've got to run it, etc., etc. Whoa, it is really, really costly, especially when we're in a time where, you know, the cut through is very, very hard. What is the would you say that sending out your cards is less expensive or in the ballpark?
I did some back of napkin scratching there, and once I got to 50K, I gave up, and that was halfway through that list.
Yeah.
So the expensive question is such a difficult question to answer. So let me ask in return, is eating in a fine restaurant expensive?
Yes.
Compared to Macca's?
Yes. Compared
to Macca's is expensive. So the quality of that experience and the quality of that experience and the quality of the tucker and the atmosphere and all of that, is that expensive if you're looking for that celebratory space for you and your closest? I don't know. Is private health insurance expensive? Compared to what? compared to waiting 3 years for a knee replacement, is private health insurance that gets that done in 3 months more expensive?
That's right. It's like what if, depending you're comparing it to.
Yes, that's exactly right. So the answer to your question, now that I've been the protagonist, the answer to your question is no. An investment not in advertising, but in laser targeted relationship building via a combination of lead generation tools in what we call our communication ecosystem is nowhere near that. You know,
we're talking about two different things here, I think, because to me, everything I just read out is all about a blast. Yeah.
Yes.
But yours is about building a relationship.
And laser targeting the start of a conversation.
Yes.
Yes. We are not interested in, like, if we were selling hamburgers, if you're selling hamburgers, you don't hang out on LinkedIn. But if you're selling, you know, packages that are worth multi-thousands per month, well, you hang out where other business people are hanging out, in my opinion, rather than Facebook, which is a social platform rather than a business platform. A very quick story, Marg. Don't quote me on all of the figures. If somebody knows the actual figures that are listening to this, that's great. Is this expensive? Company in America sells $10 million widgets. That's their package. Let's say it's high-end IT. So what they did was they went to an artisan who designed and constructed 10 beautiful timber briefcases with a code lock on the top. These things were immaculate, like give you goosebumps. Inside, they lined them with beautiful red foam and velvet, and they embedded a MacBook Pro. They chose $10 billion companies to send their $10 million packages to. Just 10. They built 10 briefcases. Total investment, 30 grand. Is 30 grand a lot to invest in just 10 prospects? So let's let that question hang. They employed a courier service who dressed their couriers in butler uniforms. The butler went to the reception desk every single day for X amount of time until the person on the ground floor allowed access to the PA on the 20th floor. The job of the butler was to get in front, physically in front of the CEO of a billion-dollar company or plus, and not leave the room until the butler had handed over the code to the briefcase and had observed the response of the CEO when they opened the briefcase. That was it.
Mm.
They got in front of 7 or 8 of these CEOs, and when the briefcase code was delivered and the briefcase was opened, the MacBook Pro automatically came on and it said, hi, John, this is our gift to you. If you want to find out why, call this number.
I love that.
They scored 2 $10 million widget sales out of a $30,000 investment to just 10 people. Is that expensive?
No. No.
So I have a client, and a lady, and she invested with us on a 6-month campaign, 100 cards a month for 6 months with all the bells and whistles. Nothing happened in month 1. Nothing happened in month 2. Nothing happened in month 3. And she was cranky. And I say, I won't use a name because it's a unique name. But I said, Marianne, you've got to stick with it. Let's tweak this, change that. Month 4, she got a $100,000 client. And it's a repeat annual $100,000 client.
Mm.
Was it expensive in the first 3 months to get no result?
Mm.
Yeah, of course it was.
Mm.
I was biting my fingernails to my elbows. But what we sold that human being, that business person, was the ability to interrupt attention, begin conversations, and stick with it until you find your tribe, until you find that human being that goes, oh my goodness, now is the right time for me to engage in this way with this solution that I need for my business. Is that expensive? So the investment that lady made in us, I don't know, let's call it 20 grand. I don't remember the figure. But she clocked 100 grand in year 1, then 100 grand in year 2. Like, I'm not sure how to answer, is this expensive? What I know is that this is laser targeted, not random.
And that's what I like about it, because at the end of the day, we're talking about because I'm a targeted lead generator. And I think people have to realize that once you do become, who you really are targeting, what that lead is worth, and then investing in the relationship, it is the recipe for success, in my opinion. But I would just like to go on to the next question now, mindful of time, in that it's not just the send handwritten, is it? You have this LinkedIn strategy, which I'd like other people to know, because I don't want the perception to be it's just, oh, we send a card, we make a phone call. It's more than that. And of course, the messaging that you do in the handwritten, messaging that you provide. So, what is the LinkedIn strategy? And how does that does that tie in?
Yeah, it's a good question. So what we've got really crystal clear for our clients now is that if we Google our own name, our LinkedIn profile will appear in that search. Unless your name is Greg Smith and there's 2 million of us on the planet, that's somewhat more challenging. But Marg or Margaret Lang is going to show up right there on the search. When somebody clicks on that link to your LinkedIn profile, which let's call this your digital retail shopfront, if they click on it and your profile is not optimized, that is, it's got to look attractive, It's got to appear as if you've put some effort into this. And instantly people want to look into your eyes and know in that photo that's on a LinkedIn profile and know that you're a human being that is trustworthy. If you can create that in the first 3 seconds, then that's awesome. If your profile has the gray banner, a dodgy photo, no voiceover, your about section is a resume of what you've done in your past, like wake me up when I'm done, will you?
Yeah.
So that's the equivalent of walking past a shop front in the street with a cloudy, dirty front window glass, the bell on the door's lying on the ground behind the door with all scratch marks in it and it's not working, and there's a neon light out the front that give you a twitch because it's not working properly. Don't do that to yourself. Appear digitally with your best foot forward. Then the trick is to, and it's not a trick, it just makes common sense, is to show up in the mail and then build a bridge between what appears in the mail in that quiet channel to market where you can whisper and still be heard, and then appear instantly digitally as well. And the bridge between physical mail and an optimized LinkedIn profile is a QR code. And every one of us with a LinkedIn profile have a LinkedIn QR code that we print on the back of our clients' cards. So now you're showing up in LinkedIn, you're showing up in the post, potentially you're showing up on the phone, you're showing up via text, and you're showing up in email. So I'm involved with an elite marketing group here in Australia, and they still believe that email marketing gets cut through. And I'm sure it does if you invest heavily with mass sendings and clever scripting that you need to invest severely in.
Yeah. Look, just to say that, I think you and I will agree to that email marketing company. Yes, yes, clever scripting. Yes. But you and I know, because we're human, that we subscribe to stuff and then we start deleting at 8 a.m. Delete. We haven't got time for this. I don't want to unsubscribe because or we shove it into a folder. Right? I don't believe that through this, and I've always said that the way that you show up, and this is what I'm talking about here, step out from behind the algorithms and show up in the real world. Showing up in the real world is all about what you're saying about in the post, in person, when you're on the phone, right? And making sure that when you're on the phone, you know how to show up on the phone. And also, you can't not say we can't do digital because we are in a digital world. So there has to be both. And well, actually it's 3 because we're talking about in the mail, in person, and online, right? So I totally get that. So looking at 2023 then, and given the fact we know that we're coming out of this post-pandemic lockdown world where we really had time to think about what matters to us, and it just so happens that I think it's really interesting. I've had someone the other day said to me, I reckon we've all got really selfish. And the amount of people that I'm hearing is that people it's all about them. They're in their busy bubble. They don't return calls. They don't return emails. I mean, I've got some to chase up today. So where do you think this is all going in 2023 in terms of lead generation? And do you think that Send Handwritten is best place for that prediction?
Again, let me ask a question in return. With all of our capacity for connecting digitally, do you feel connected to human beings in that process?
Good question, Greg. I would say in some cases, yes.
Great. But and here's a case in point. How did you and I meet?
Digitally.
LinkedIn. But what did we turn that into in a heartbeat? We turned it into a conversation.
We did.
So some of my colleagues don't like this metaphor. It works for me because I'm 57 years of age and I get it. When I was a young man, I would go to a school dance and the boys would be on one side. I went to an all-boys school, right? So the boys would be fearful, all sitting down one side of the hall. The girls who went to the all-girls school down the road, they were all sitting down the other side of the hall, and nothing would happen unless something happened. Metaphorically, what needed to happen was somebody needed to poke somebody in the eye on the other side of the room with a paper plane and go, "It is you I am prepared to be within 3 feet of." And two people would metaphorically meet in the middle of the room, and a distant, disconnected, awkward conversation would begin. And if the conversation got a little bit of life in it, then the dance would begin, and the conversation would continue, and the dance would get more complex. And then all of a sudden, after not much time, then there were a couple of hundred young people in the middle of the dance floor figuring out who they were and what all this meant, and how they could, ultimately build relationships with each other. I think that this pendulum that has swung and is continuing to swing towards digitization, automation, and bots and AI, it hasn't finished swinging to where it's got to swing to before human beings get bored, sick of it, increasingly disconnected, and it swings back and knocks all of us off our feet and says, "You know what? I want to have coffee with Marg. I don't want to send her another goddamn email. I want to sit around on a retreat and really understand the patience and layering and the spirit of who I am, and what really makes me a human, and what it is that gets me out of bed every day to have the impact that I know that I want to have on this planet before I'm not here anymore." In 2023 and beyond, it is my assertion that Web 3.0 will be blasé and beige. We will be used to it. We will still want to connect with each other physically, emotionally, intellectually, and spiritually. And that's exactly where this company is playing. We are on that dance floor encouraging parties from each side of the room to get each other's attention and to begin conversations. No amount of automation is going to replace that.
I love it. And I remember my daughter saying, and this is where I'm going to sort of wrap this up now to the last question. My daughter, she's 24, and she says, "Mum, with these dating apps, if a guy really, like in the olden days when Nana and Grandma, Grandpa met, there was none of this. If he really wanted to meet her, he would go to her doorstep, and he might even just leave a note or a bunch of flowers on the doorstep." And so there is a way of doing that. And I think this is almost that strategy of we're actually reaching out and we're being real, and we're actually showing that we really do care by taking the time to send this beautiful handwritten card. And I know you're biased, but let's wrap this up now in terms of lead generation and about human connection, authentic relationship building. What are the benefits of Send Handwritten?
The benefits of Send Handwritten are that we cut through the digital noise and the perceived connection, and we create real connection, real resonance by authentically connecting our clients with their prospects, or our clients with their existing clientele, in a way that has the potential to create goosebumps, not boredom.
Love it. Okay, Greg, thanks very much for your time today. And
pleasure, Marg.
If anyone wants to get in touch with you, how do they get in touch with you?
Either email or the website. It's greg@sendhandwritten.com.au. Don't forget the AU. Or it's sendhandwritten.com.au for the website.
And I guess just hit up Greg on LinkedIn.
There you go.
There you go. All right. Thanks very much, Greg.
My pleasure, Marg. Bye for now.